Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today as we're sitting here talking about NXT TAKEOVER Brooklyn 4. I just sat here and watched this show. Honestly, the first thing that was coming through my mind as I watched the opening match of the night was, man, I wish I would know a lot more about what is going on in NXT. I can honestly say that I don't remember the last time that I've watched NXT. I do know from listening to a wide variety of podcasts as well as, following WWE and NXT on Twitter. I do know a lot of the names. I just don't know really why a lot of guys are having matches. Tonight's episode of NXT TAKEOVER 4 was a really good show. I mean, this holds up as a really good pay-per-view that's probably going to be one of the best shows that WWE puts on all year. Obviously, it's not going to have the same amount of viewers as SummerSlam is going to have because there's a lot of people out there who just don't watch NXT. They just don't give it their time of day. But I will tell you honestly, I was hooked to this show within the very first few minutes. Most people know my friend Jimny888 is very down on the state of wrestling today. As I watched the opening match of the night that basically had the Undisputed Era going up against who are the mustache guys? Tyler Bate and the other dude. Basically, I thought that was one of the best tag team matches that I honestly had seen in a long time. I'd say that would go back to as that would hold up as one of the best tag team matches of like back in the 80s. I mean, back when tag team wrestling was really tag team wrestling and it really didn't matter what was going on. As the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong beat Mustache Mountain, Tyler Bate, and Trent Seven. I mean, this was right up there with Arn and Tully. The things that I talk about when I talk about the revival, teams that could come out and save the state of professional tag team wrestling. We really haven't had a real push in WWE, but as soon as this match was over, the Undisputed Era got the win, but as they were celebrating with their titles, they were jumped by War Machine coming from Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling. That obviously is going to be the state of their new next feud. I know that with the NXT tour of the UK, basically the Mustache Mountain beat the Undisputed Era. They had a short title reign, and this is going to be the end of their feud, but they put on some really good matches that I think are going to hold up over the test of this year as some of the best matches of the year. So you got to tip your hat to them. From there, we went right into Ricochet beating Adam Cole to become the new NXT North American Champion. This was a belt that came to be at NXT TakeOver in New Orleans, WrestleMania weekend. It was a new title that was held up in a ladder match, and they sort of put this feud together because Adam Cole is the guy who pushed Ricochet off the top of the ladder when he was about to grab the belt, and Adam would go up and grab it himself. So Ricochet wanted to show Adam Cole that he really was the king of wrestling. They had one hell of a match with Ricochet coming out on top. Undisputed Era has one less title in their reigns, but definitely Ricochet, I think, is going to be holding that title. Maybe we see Adam Cole move up in the ranks as number one contender going after that NXT title. But with Tommaso Ciampa as the champ, that might hold up in his way. From there, we went to Kairi Sane against Shayna Baszler. I will tell you that I was nodding off a little bit during this match. It's not that it was a bad match. Just, I haven't seen a Shayna Baszler match that I liked that much. Her style of wrestling is really good. I'm sure she is a really good wrestler that a lot of people are going to like, but it just doesn't do it for me. One way or another, Kairi Sane, it looked like Shayna Baszler had her in one heck of a submission move, but Shayna Baszler just had her shoulders down on the mat and didn't kick out. It looked like Shayna had control of most of the match, beating up Kairi Sane. It looked like she was going to make her submit a couple times, but we never really saw Kairi tap out one way or another. Kairi ended up winning the NXT Women's Championship, and we got a new champion in hand. Sitting outside of the ring, we had Ronda Rousey with the fellow horsewomen cheering her on. Lots of rumors of the Survivor Series being the place where we're going to see the four horsewomen of, I guess you can say UFC, take on the four horsewomen of the WWE. This is the match that we've been looking forward to for well over a year. I thought that it might have happened at the Evolution pay-per-view, but with this, maybe we'll actually be seeing Shayna Baszler move up to the main roster. Also, in attendance at the show, we saw Mark Henry and Kevin Owens sitting sidelines watching a match. But most important, we saw Matt Riddle making his NXT debut, this time being the guy in the front row instead of being in the second row as somebody else was being named. But this will be the new main guy coming to WWE. He's been one of the biggest names since WrestleMania 32 weekend on the Independents. I know that I made a special appearance to go see Matt Riddle wrestle at Evolve because he was sort of the hot name at the time coming over from UFC. A lot of people thinking that WWE wouldn't take a chance on him because of his problems with marijuana while he was in UFC, which has been widely talked about. But in this day and age, marijuana is pretty much legal. So I don't know why that would hold him back in WWE, but we'll have to see where we go from here. But the main event saw Tommaso Ciampa beating Johnny Gargano, Johnny Wrestling, in the main event. Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Wrestling went out there, Gargano, whatever you want to call him, had one hell of a match where they beat the hell out of each other. We saw tables, we saw playoffs on just about every match that they've had along the way. This would be their third or fourth encounter in NXT. We saw them have a no DQ match. We saw them have a match that was off the books. What do they call that when there's it's like it's off the record, and this one here was the last man standing. They beat the hell out of each other. We saw it was a lot like the El Generico versus Kevin Steen match in ROH, where basically they brought back the chair, they brought back the mask. Every element of their feud was brought into play. We saw them bring out the crutch. We saw them use the handcuffs, and just about everything that they could to show you this is the biggest feud going on in wrestling right now. One thing leads to another. They fight their way up the ramp. This is where I sort of thought that we were going to see somebody interrupt this match because them being so close to where the entrance was. But Johnny Gargano ended up handcuffing Tommaso Ciampa to either like the lighting rig or something in the production moving. It looked like it had lights on it, honestly. Like it had small LED lights on it. So I'm not really sure what this was used for. But as he was beating him up, Tommaso Ciampa wasn't able to stand, and he was actually at the 8 count. Johnny Gargano was about to win this match, but he decided that he wanted to hit him with the knee, and he went in with the flying knee. He connected with Tommaso Ciampa, but at the same time went right through him, went into those lighting rigs, went into some sort of something that you rolled around to move the set around, like a little box. And that basically just hyperextended his knee, where I guess Mauro Ranallo said it was dislocated and was not able to get up. But Tommaso Ciampa found a way to basically slide to his feet, even though he was handcuffed, and be standing at the 10 count to win the match. We saw Johnny Gargano being helped all the way up the ramp before collapsing at the very top, and that's when Tommaso Ciampa made his way back out one more time to taunt Johnny Gargano. So I'm not really sure if this is the end of the feud or not. Johnny Gargano could get moved up to the main roster. Johnny Gargano could have a feud against Aleister Black for making him lose the championship. He just could be moved into another feud, or we could see another matchup against Tommaso Ciampa. The only way I see this going is that they build it to an Hell in a Cell match, because from where they are, maybe a steel cage match, but I'm not 100% sure that would even work for these guys, but we'll see. Basically, Triple H with NXT keeps on finding ways to involve it and push the envelope to make it bigger and better. So we'll see where we go from here. NXT TAKEOVER 4 from Brooklyn, which looks like it's more likely going to be the last one, was a good one.